I've noticed this trend over the last 7 years with men over the age of 40. And it's that they have this midlife epiphany. Sometimes it's men in their 40s, sometimes it's men in their 50s, other times it'll hit some of them in their 60s. And this epiphany is that they have so much of their life put together. Their finances are stable and doing well. Their careers are, they are climbing in their careers. They're feeling good. They are progressing every single year. Some of them have a long-term relationship with their girlfriend, and some of them have a wife and kids. But there's one thing that every single one of them is missing, and most men will actually never achieve this in their lifetime anyways. And I'll use my client Daniel as the example. Daniel is one of the most locked in clients I've ever had in my life. 43 years old, father of 5 kids. He has his spouse, very successful entrepreneur, very successful businessman, one of the smartest people I've ever met. And he had the ability to retire at a very early age. And what happens when you retire at an early age? You mostly just get busy with other things. So by being able to retire in his late 30s, early 40s, he realized that one thing was missing was his health. He didn't have his health in check like he used to. He used to be very fit growing up, very strong growing up. But he realized that over 10, 15 years of just being completely dialed in with everything else in his life, getting his family set, getting his businesses up and running, he started to realize that his health was the one thing that was missing. Most men will realize that they never actually had their health to begin with, or they had it when they were young and then they never got it back. And they kind of lack that, and they start to realize that. Because especially in your 40s, it's almost like the perfect age where you're not young enough to not care about your health anymore and think that you're Superman and invincible. Like, you start to feel some of those aches, you start to feel some of those pains, you start to feel that gut kick out a little bit more. Some might call it a dad bod. But in your 40s, you're also not too old to the point where you were already feeling those impairments hitting you, where you can't really walk as well. Maybe you need a cane to move around, that sort of thing. Your knees are just randomly hurting day to day. And the problem with this is that by the time you're in your 40s and definitely in your 50s and 60s, you think, well, I'm just old now. I'm breaking down. My metabolism is screwed up. Terrible, terrible mentality. And you're actually completely wrong as well. What most people are referring to when they think their metabolism is screwed up is actually what's called sarcopenia. It's just the loss of muscle mass over time as you begin to age and continue to age. Usually this starts anywhere between about 30 to 35 years old, but it's not like your life just completely plummets just because you start hitting those ages. It's a combination of factors. One, most people have not exercised since high school or college. Most people got busy with their work, busy with their careers. They started having families. So they're just distracted and they're not doing as much anymore. You'll realize that, especially with my former athlete clients, a few of them in particular that played football, soccer, all these guys that they're very athletic when they were younger. And now as they got older, it kind of clicked with them where they're like, wow, I am nowhere near the athleticism that I was when I was younger. It is that because you are not playing soccer 5 days a week. You aren't playing football or wrestling 5, 6 days a week like you used to. It's not that your metabolism is slowing down because of the age alone. It is strictly because you have stopped doing as much as you did when you were younger. And as you start to get in your 50s and 60s, you'll notice that there's a lot more that this matters for, where you're not necessarily in a position of having the true flexibility of whatever you want with your health, eat whatever you want, that sort of thing. But you are in a position where you need to start actually taking care of yourself so that future issues don't come up. And when you notice this, it's not that in your 40s, all of a sudden you just took a huge hit, or even in your 50s, you just took a huge hit and completely fell off. It's that this was being led up to since you stopped doing everything else, since you stopped exercising, since you stopped moving, since you started working a desk job. This body that you have now, this body that's a lot more out of shape than it was 10, 20 years ago, it started 10 and 20 years ago. Your muscle mass can only maintain so much over time, and that fat accumulation over time starts to sneak up on you, especially if you haven't paid so much attention to it because you're distracted with everything else. That's just how life is. You get distracted, a lot of things are going on, and you realize, dang, I really let myself go. The amount of people that I've talked to where they look at their wedding photos and they think, wow, I looked really good back then. And when I look in the mirror now, like, what happened to me? I have no idea how this snuck up on me and how I didn't catch this any sooner. And so people will start to blame their metabolism and sarcopenia and just their, oh, well, I'm losing muscle. I'm just getting fat. I'm just getting that dad bod. It's just what it is, right? This is how it's supposed to be. A lot of people use that as a crutch and as an excuse when in reality it doesn't need to be at all. Well, my 20s were my peak. I'm never going to be that healthy or successful again. It's like, no, actually most men, especially above the age of 40, start to peak in their 40s, not just with having families and a social life, possibly having kids, possibly feeling a sense of connection with another person, but also financially. You're a lot more stable. You're climbing the ladder of your career. You're now the guy that is continuously progressing that people look up to. And then also socially as well. You have a variety of social circles where you've weeded out all the trash and now you start to build your network and have a variety of people that you can talk to, you can hang out with, you can go on vacations with, you and your spouse can go hang with. That sort of thing. And even for my guys in their 50s and 60s, you can continuously be peaking. It does not mean just because you passed up your 40s that you can no longer peak anymore. You still have a lot of opportunity and you have more skill developed than what you had previously when you were a young buck, when you're maybe 28 years old. In fact, that actually reminds me of a couple of my clients, Greg and Kathy. 64 and 61 years old. Greg is a pilot, Kathy is a flight attendant. And for both of them, at that age, you start to think, oh yeah, in your 60s, you're probably just winding down. You're probably not doing a whole lot. You're just kind of taking the back seat, letting the rest of life run its course. No, not at all. If anything, they actually proved me wrong because I used to think that exact same thing, especially when I first started out as a fitness coach. I thought, oh yeah, people in their 60s, they start to break down. They start to become a lot more lazy. They don't really care as much anymore. They're not doing anything. For them, for Greg and Kathy, they are throwing house parties every other weekend. They have holidays going on. They constantly have people traveling in from out of town. People are staying at their house. People are going swimming. They're active. They're doing stuff. They're going to museums and all these other things. They have a bunch of activities that they're doing. And it's not because that they are in their 60s that they can't do any of these things, that they want to wind down. They are still enjoying their life, and they realize that when they are healthy, when they are active, they have the capability of doing all of these things. Not to mention, when they're working out, when they are eating right, they notice not just the extra energy, but they notice how much more longevity they have as well. Between building muscle, having that bone mineral density be so much higher. Kathy had thyroid cancer, and I think she broke her back about 5 years ago. She had all these challenges going on. Greg had terrible knees, bad back as well. He's a pilot. He sits all the time. So they have all these health issues, health challenges going on. And through working out, through exercising, they realized the difference and the significance of exercising. To where now, instead of only doing that in their 40s, they get to continue to do this all the way into their 60s, where they're not just having a good time, but they're having a good time for a long time. And I don't think they're slowing down anytime soon, especially the amount of projects that they told me they plan on doing when they both retire in a few years from now. They're like, oh yeah, we have this home project of this going, and we're going to clean out the backyard, and we're going to have this and that. They have all these things that are going to be mentally stimulating them and physically going to be a challenge for them. They're going to have to keep physically moving, but that's what's keeping them sharp, and that's what's keeping them enjoying their life. They have this longevity. They just became grandparents here within the last year, I believe. And with that, they now have a whole new purpose to living. Their kids are grown up. They're having fun. Everyone is doing their own careers, having their own families. One of their kids just got engaged recently as well. So life is starting to progress for them, and they're starting to reach that age where you think everything will slow down for you. But in reality, now they have a whole new purpose to live for, being in their grandkids, and then being there for their kids to help raise their grandkids into good people. So one of the first things that I realized with my men over the age of 40, and just honestly any of my clients over the age of 40, is that they realize when they are getting in shape, when they start to actually lean out, shed that excess fat, pack on that muscle, life just becomes so much easier. Not just better, but just easier. Day-to-day tasks like walking up the stairs. Wow, I remember I used to be winded when I was walking up my flight of stairs. Now it's like nothing. Yeah, because you're in shape. You're not carrying that extra fat, and you have that muscle to support you throughout it. And as you continue to age, broken hips are one of the biggest causes of mortality above the age of 60. You fall, you slip, you can't catch yourself, you don't have the muscle to support your body. When you break your hip and you become sedentary, your risk of mortality shoots up significantly. And it's very hard to recover from that because of how sedentary you are, because of how depressed you can be by not being able to socialize with others. It's very hard to keep your brain stimulated and sharp. And a lot of times when you don't use it, you'll lose it. And once you start losing your brain, becomes way harder to physically do stuff as well. So your 40s is kind of like that weird time where so much stuff is going good, but it's kind of that awkward point as well where you realize, wow, I need to get my health together. It hasn't snuck up on me fully yet, but I need to get this thing together. And as you lean out, Daniel, I'll go back to my client Daniel for a sec. I trained him and his wife, Nikki. Both of them extremely dialed in people. They are willing to make the change. They started in a rough position physically. Everything else in their life going very good. Physically was a tough thing to pull out of. And both of them were able to dial in. They got their workouts in. They paid so much attention to their nutrition. They learned how to make this system as easy as possible for them. And through those transformations and getting in shape like how they did, because they had some crazy transformations, they realized that when you start to have the rest of your life put together, but you don't have your health, that is something that, I think there's a saying, it goes, the healthy man has a million wishes, the sick man has one wish, and that one wish is literally just to be healthy. They started to realize that when you don't have your health, you don't really have much else. And so through them getting healthy, through them getting in shape, through them living as an example, they are now not only providing their kids with the education on what to eat, how to eat, what are some good habits that we can build around health and fitness. Their young children, they see mom and dad working out. Oh, this is a good thing. Oh, my parents look different than all the other parents. All the other parents look a little bit bigger. Hey, why are my friends' mom and dad bigger than you guys? And there's a reason for that. Is because Daniel and Nikki are able to take care of themselves and they're able to stick to it and stay disciplined with it. So now not only are they leading by example for their children, but now they're becoming an inspiration to them as well. They're someone that their kids can look up to. Strong mom, strong dad. When you have that physique and when you have that courage and when you have that discipline, it starts to leak over into your kids. And that's another thing too, where I've noticed a lot of men that have kids that when they were out of shape raising them, their kids tend to become out of shape. So by you not being in shape, by you not being lean, you're doing your kids a disservice. You would be absolutely shocked to see how far you could actually take your body, how far you can actually take your health, and then how much taking your health seriously spills over into every other part of your life to where now you're feeling good. You have the energy. You have more energy to get a promotion, to continue to climb that ladder in your career. You have more energy to provide to your kids. So when you go home after a long day at work and you're like, oh my gosh, I don't want to cook right now. I don't want to do this. I just want time to myself. I just want to be alone right now. You realize you have that extra energy and you can put that towards your kids and towards your family. And now your relationships are getting better because you have more energy to give to the people around you and they tend to reciprocate that back to you. That's what a lot of my clients have noticed, is that their social circles have begun to change a little bit. And the same thing as well for my guys who are single out there, for my guys in their 40s who are single or have gone through a divorce or heartbreak. That's another thing, is that you getting in shape automatically attracts eyes to you, especially if you are looking for people around your age. There are not a lot of men out there in their 40s that are still lean. Like I said, they call it a dad bod for a reason. The minute a lot of people start to become the age of a father, that is when they start to let themselves go. So for my guys who have been heartbroken or divorced, think about it like this. You get lean, you focus on yourself, everything else starts to fall in place. You will tend to get more eyes as well. And through those eyes, you start to see, wow, I'm sort of a unicorn in this situation. One of my guys recently, he's 45 years old, he's going to this bar. He realized that more people flock to him and surround him just because he's in shape now. But they didn't treat him like this when he was a pudgier guy, when he was an overweight guy. So it's kind of crazy how people's mentalities towards you completely change just based off of how you look alone. And through that, you have a much higher chance of finding somebody. You have a much higher chance of building your confidence because you are lean. And then you start to see people gravitating toward you. And through that gravitation, you're like, wow, I kind of feel like the man almost. Like I kind of feel that feels good to know that I am in a position of being wanted. Because everybody likes that idea of someone at least thinking highly of them, especially men. We like that idea of someone being able to respect us, think highly of us. And when we have that confidence to back it up, it just goes that much further. So if you are a man above the age of 40 and you are looking to get lean by losing fat, by building muscle, by looking to develop this confidence and this way of living that can lead into your 50s, 60s, 70s, and so on, there's a one-on-one coaching application in the description down below. Feel free to fill that out. Let me in on some of the details on what you're going through and what you're dealing with. I'll reach out to you. I'll see if I can do anything for you, and we'll go from there. Okay? If you found any value in this video, please be sure to drop a like down below, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.